The scripture reading comes to us this morning from Sirach, chapter 11, verse 3. The bee is small among flying creatures, but what it produces is the best of sweet things. So once again, this is Evolution Sunday. It's in its 19th year nationally, and it's a proactive way for people of faith to embrace our belief in evolution and science as a response, it's how it began, to Christians who would attempt to mandate creationist belief, not only in their churches, but also, as you well know, in schools. We're just seeing this overreach of people claiming their faith in our educational system, and it is a clear violation of separation of church and state. So it's one of the reasons we are continually speaking out on this front. In fact, we were at the school district just last week talking about this overreach that we're seeing in regards to what they call parental notification. But that's a different topic. We recognize it is important for us to stand up. And so, as progressive Christians, we reiterate our belief that faith and science are not mutually exclusive. We are proud to embrace a thinking faith, one that challenges us to evolve as we grow individually and communally. So today, we are welcoming evolutionary biologist and entomologist, Dr. Boris Baer. He researches social insect reproduction and immunity by studying Australian honeybees, Panamanian leaf-cutting ants, and European bumblebees. And he's building a new field of research, which he refers to as evolutionary protemics, and he aims to understand evolution processes at the protein level, but also attempts to quantify variations in protemic profiles and investigate their consequences for natural and sexual selection. He's not going to be talking about that today. Thank goodness. I don't understand it, but we should go to his class maybe. He is educated at the University of Zurich, Switzerland, where he received his bachelor's, master's, and PhD. Dr. Baer went on to research at the University of Western Australia and now teaches at the University of California, Riverside, where he continues his research and runs the Center for Integrative Bee Research. He has received a multitude of awards. I won't list all of them, but my favorite one was the Busy Bee Award he received from Western Australian Apiarist Association. In learning about him, I discovered that his partner in life is also his partner in science. In an article cleverly titled "The Bears and the Bees," I learned that together you and your wife, Barbara Baer-Imhoff, founded this world-renowned Center for Integrative Bee Research, or CYBER, and it's there to serve as a beekeeping think tank. The center is now based in UC Riverside, where they are, and it is one of the largest honeybee health networks in the country, enabling entomologists, engineers, economists, and professional beekeepers to collaborate on innovative solutions for colony collapse. So important. And we have some more guests that maybe you met during our coffee hour, which you'll get the chance to meet following the service a little bit later. But for now, let's welcome our guest, Dr. Boris Baer.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to come here and to talk a little bit about this person here. Can we see that on the screen? Charles Darwin, correct? Here we have him, happy 215th birthday. It is, of course, a person that has really deeply kind of affected my life and my thinking. I'm not going into all of this, but I show you one thing that he that he put into his diary. Can you go one back, please? So this is like something that he wrote in his diary, and you can see there on the top he says, "I think," and then he wrote this, what we now would call a phylogenetic tree, right? So at the end, somewhere B or C, that would be us. but like what he basically tells us is we're kind of in the end all connected with each other. We all have kind of this sense, you can go back in life, whether we have a dog, the last one we had a dog in here, you have the tree out there, if you go far enough back, we are kind of all related. We are having common descent. So if you look at like the nature outside, we're just part of a larger system. So he kind of proposed that. Some people were kind of having different opinions about it, not just kind of from the church side, but also from the scientific side. He was really heavily criticized for this. Why is that diversity generated? Where does it come from? Well, if you kind of have creatures and they reproduce, they create new variations. We are all a new variation, a new draw out of a pool, okay? And that is kind of tested, and you can see here that some of these creatures are obviously kind of really good at kind of surviving in their environment. Can you see like this gecko there hiding? I took that picture in Panama. I was walking there for 3 weeks until I saw it, just by chance, okay? So there are animals that have traits and they're really beneficial, and over time that makes them very successful. And Darwin recognized this, and he used bees for his studies. He was a big bee fan. Not sure, can you go on? He was a big bee fan. He had beehives on his property, and he basically kind of realized that plants have a big disadvantage. The big disadvantage of plants is they cannot walk around. So if they want to reproduce, it's like they're very limited. So how did plants solve the puzzle? Well, they found someone who helped them. And you can see them in the middle there, right? They found a messenger of love, which is a bee, right? And so, like, because this was so successful, if we go one further, like, what happened is like what Darwin predicted, right? We start to see variation. I don't have to present you all kind of the variations of flowers, you know them, right? All the colors, all the kind of variation around that. What I want to show you is quickly like the variation that it also created on the bee side. So look at these bees here. They basically kind of co-evolved with these plants, all these kind of colors and the different forms, right? And we have like today, we have thousands of different bees. Some of them are very kind of specific to only kind of pollinate one plant, and others pollinate further plants. Can we go a bit further back? Yeah, so look at these bees here, right? All forms of colors and shapes, or this one here. And I guess the most famous one that you all hopefully know is this one. It's a European honeybee, right? It's one of the most famous messengers of love, and like we kind of carried around throughout our own history, right? We started to beekeep about 40,000 years ago because we recognized of how important that animal is for us. Now, today, the pollination services that these bees provide us are valued at something between $230 and $570 billion each year on a global scale, or for the United States, still $29 billion. But you might also have heard that there is a problem with these bees, because over the past 2 or 3 decades, we start to lose them. And that has become a real problem. And that's not just honeybees, it's our native bee populations as well. And for example, last year, the US lost almost half of its managed bees. Imagine we would lose half of our dogs, we would lose half of our cats, we would lose half of our chickens, right? So that is really kind of concerning, because it contributes to some problems that we have at the moment with feeding people. So if you can go one further, like either we kind of go to the shops, and we have all experienced that even after COVID, and the shelves are empty. Or it might be there, but we all, I think, experience, especially in California, that these things become more and more expensive. So people can't afford food, and bees specifically kind of produce healthy food for people. So we have 21 people that have to go to the food banks to make their living, right? So I think like bees play a really crucial role here, and I hope I've convinced you that we have to save the bees. For the bees' sake, because I hope you can fall in love when you see these kind of 2 male bees cuddling there in a flower, but also because we really need them. Now this is all frustrating. It's like we are living in a frustrating world where you open a website and you immediately kind of you get hit by bad news. But I want to kind of use the rest of my few minutes that I hopefully have here to give you some good news. And that is like You are here living in Irvine, and this is actually a mystical place for bees. There's something very, very specific about just this area here that will save the bees, that will save the US, and that can even save kind of the world's kind of demand on pollination. So why is this? Well, you might have seen in your backyard, or you might have heard about that there are some bees out there in your trees, or they might have swarmed on your house. And these bees survive in the environment here without our help. They don't die. And that is a hive that I got that picture from a beekeeper in Long Beach, so it's very close here, right? And you can see a huge hive with a lot of bees. And these bees can take pretty much everything. And we showed that with our research. We can throw diseases on them, we can heat them to the temperatures that we find, for example, in the riverside, and these bees just kind of able to survive that. So we do what people did 40,000 years ago. So we climb up into the trees and we get them down and we start to study them, what they are. And so the first thing what we wanted to know is, what are these bees? Where do they come from? And what you can see here is some 21 and B, so the genetic kind of backup of the bees, right? So what you see on the right-hand side are the red bees. These are kind of what we call Africanized bees. So this is a bee species that was generated in Brazil in 1957 to increase genetic diversity. And Darwin told us, like, if you have genetic diversity, that can be used to select for certain traits. That is the raw material of evolution, right? So that is like on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, we have the parents, right, of bees that we basically keep here. So in blue, we have the Anatolian bees, we have the eastern honeybees, and we have the western honeybees. So these are the bees that beekeepers keep in the hives, and that's the ones that we lose at a 50% rate. So what do we have here locally? That's where the question mark is. So what we have here is that these bees meet here in California, and they interbreed with each other. And that only occurs, as far as we know, somewhere between San Diego and maybe Fresno. So we have a hybrid bee that is the most genetically diverse bee in the world. And Darwin basically says, okay, that is the raw material that we can use. That is what nature, Mother Nature out there uses to select those bees that can cope with these diseases. And so that kind of hybrid there, we should make them our new friends, right? Because they are bees that we can. And like the beekeepers work with us, the idea is that we do this together with the beekeepers. So if we kind of can collect those bees, yeah. So this is what we're doing here. That's what Barbara is doing. We collaborate with these local beekeepers. We bring them into husbandry. We confirm that they have these traits that we want. And the long-term idea is to basically breed them. So to kind of breed a bee that is tolerant, that shows low levels of defensiveness, that will kind of help us in the future. And these are the kind of 5 different beekeeping clubs that we use for this. So these beekeepers have years of experience with these bees, much more than I actually have, because I just arrived here 2017. And that is the idea, to kind of bring that together. So I hope that is a really kind of positive kind of story at the end, despite all the necks about kind of losing all the bees, right? And what we basically do is, like, we use new approaches to kind of treat these bees, breeding them here, for example, using artificial insemination. That's one kind of way to do that. But what we basically want to do is, like, we want to kind of have almost a new relationship with that bee, where we let the bee be a little bit more beeish, and we don't interfere all the time. And there are a couple of rules around that we start to develop. It basically follows what Darwin told us, right? The maintaining genetic diversity, allowing bees to deal with the problems by themselves. And that has been given a name, not by me, that has been given a name a couple of kind of years ago. And I'm not going to make that up. It's called, if you have the last slide there, Darwinian beekeeping. So I hope, like, Darwin would be really happy and proud that we actually, even 200 plus years after his birthday, we're still kind of thinking about him and using his knowledge. So thanks a lot.